Hey guys, welcome back. Clock's on the stove. Super stoked about today. We have our first ever female guest. Been in the works for a long time. We have Tellechea, professional beach handball.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. We thought so at first I thought it was beach volleyball. Talked to her this morning. Beach handball, brand new sport-ish. And you want to just elaborate a little bit on what is beach handball and everything?
Yeah. So beach handball is an upcoming sport in the United States. It's really big in Europe. There is an indoor handball. A lot of questions I ask is, do you guys need gloves? No, that is a different handball. I also call that like a wall ball. So beach handball has two nets and it's 4-on-4. It's a lot of sports combined, but it is very similar to the indoor handball, except for not as aggressive, and there's specialty points. So you can do a 360 spin or an alley-oop for 2 points, and then everything else is a 1 point unless you're a specialty. And kind of the specialty kind of works is the exact same as hockey with substitution, where you can't sub on until somebody has subbed off. So working with that means the specialty and the goalie works together, and they sub in and out in the same area, and they are worth 2 points anytime they shoot.
See, when I was watching, it looked like that the goalie was the specialty. He just like came out, but they actually switch.
They actually switch. Yes. They can only substitute in at the goalie area on where you are. So on one side of the court, typically the specialist is the last one to the play. But yeah, and then they're the first one off, so the goalie can run on.
How long is the court? Because when I watched it, it's like goalie section, everybody section, goalie section.
Yeah. So it's measurements I have somewhere, but it's a 6 meter. So where the goalie is, it's a 6 meter. So you can't enter into that.
Yeah, only the goalie can be in that whole area, correct?
Yeah, exactly. That in the specialty. Yeah. So the goalie can use their feet and hands in that area. But for like the 360 spins, the alley-oops, and just anything, you can jump behind the line. And as long as the ball is released, you can land inside of the goalie area. Yep. You just can't bring that ball inside, or even defense. You can't jump and try to block a shot if you're inside of that. It's an automatic 6 meter shot.
What if you block the shot in the air before you touch the ground?
That's fine.
Okay.
Perfectly fine. Yep.
So I'm pretty sure I saw a video of a dude like completely like diving in front of it and hitting it. He wasn't the goalie.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what the defense does. You're technically down a player because it's a 3 and then your goalie. So that's your fourth player. And then the offense has 4 outside. So you're always looking on offense side. You're always looking for the 2-on-1. So just like basketball, you're looking for that easy defender and offense.
Like
but
a mismatch.
The biggest thing, what was that?
Like a mismatch.
Yeah, exactly. So, but the biggest thing is the defense is for you to turn around and try to block that ball. You're not so much looking for a block every single time. You're looking to take part of the net away. So you're looking to take that far half when the goalie has the closest post, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah. So yeah.
I was just going to ask, you brought up how the sport is kind of like a culmination of multiple sports. You brought up hockey and basketball. Are there any other sports you see kind of like feeding into the game that you can like recognize, or you feel that pertain to it?
Absolutely. So water polo, that's a big one that I see a lot of.
I'm a big fan of water polo. Big fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So very similar to water polo. But the thing that doesn't really is a 360 spins. The only thing I can kind of think about is we do have a player. I do a club team here in Florida, and we have a player that did ice hockey. So that was kind of that 360 spin, because I was like, I don't know what sport. And then she came out. I was like, ice hockey. No, those are the main ones that I see.
Yeah, no, it looks awesome. Oh, sorry to interrupt you, Zach. It looks awesome. So I'm just trying to dumb it down so everyone can like get it visually in their brain. So yes. It's like a little court outside on the beach, and there's a goal and a goal, and then on each side there's 6 meters out that only the goalies can go in that spot for that given team. Like, so if
Correct.
my team's defending that side, only my goalie could be in that box unless for the block in the air or the alley-oop or especially 360 in the air. And then
Correct.
the middle's fair game. That's everyone.
Yep.
Okay, now
Yep.
here's where I want to go with this. For the middle, it is like, I believe, like normal handball where you get 3 steps and a pass, correct? Now,
Correct.
is there like in basketball, you only get, I believe, 24 seconds with the ball. Is there a time limit with the ball, or can we just keep passing until we see a good shot?
Yes and no. There's not an exact time, but the refs will basically put up their hand, and that means you have from that about 4 to 6 passes, and every ref's a little different on how much time they want to give to that. Also, if you're on the 6-meter line and there is no defense around you and you had a shot open and you just decided to take it or pass the ball back, that is also that's an automatic put the ball down, their defense turns into the offense, and that is a turnover.
Yeah, I'm a little confused on that. Can you elaborate on that a little?
Yeah. So let's say I'm having a really off game and the defense is like, you know what, just leave her out there and let her shoot. So I get the ball and it's on the 6-meter line. And I go and I'm
on
like,
the
oh,
opponent's 6-meter line, not your 6-meter line.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. The opponents. And I'm just like, nope, I don't want to shoot this. And I pass it back out. That's an automatic turnover. And it's defense ball at that point.
Why wouldn't you want to shoot that?
You just like any sport, if you're in your head or you're just like, you know what, somebody else has a better shot or I want somebody else to shoot, but the defense left you open, that's automatic. And they're like, nope, you can't do it because it was an open shot.
So it's kind of like cherry picking a little.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. I like what you said with the hand thing, because that's like textbook wrestling right there. You get it with a stall warning, and then in international wrestling, they'll do stall warning and then they'll paddle you. And then whoever got paddled, you have 30 seconds to score, or the other guy gets a point. So
Okay.
It's extremely similar to wrestling.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what I'm starting to realize. Just like this sport is so unique. You can relate it to some sport along the way. You were talking about the middle spot being open. So you're exactly right. So 3 steps you get, but in indoor, you can dribble the ball. For beach, it's hard to dribble. You can't
sand.
Exactly. You can't dribble on the sand. And if you think of the ball, think of a ball as a perfect dodgeball. There's 2 different sizes. There's a women and a men's size, and it fits perfectly in your hand. It's squishy. It has little triangles all over it. Yeah, just think of it as the perfect dodgeball. So that's the ball we use. If we put it down and then put our hand up where you can see that there's a space in between the ball and the hand, that is technically a dribble, and you get another 3 steps or 3 seconds with the ball.
So I would like run 3, put it down, move my hand, grab it, run 3 again.
Yes.
But in that time, when I put it down, can the other team grab it?
Technically, yes. You don't see it a lot because your hand's not that far from it.
Yeah, because it'd be kind of like if they miss it, that's one less defender they have already in the lane.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So you just do that. You can only do that one time, and then you can't like constantly keep dribbling it.
Okay.
So, yep. Yeah. Some other things I'm trying to see other rules. Dribbling. For
defense, like what exactly are you doing on defense? Like, can I hit it out of your hand? Can I how's defense work?
No, so that's different from the indoor. Indoor is very physical. You can kind of wrap around, you can do stuff like that. Beach is not. The only time you can kind of go and grab the ball is if the offense doesn't have it. So if they're doing an overhead pass and you're taller than the person, you can kind of like poke it, you can do that. But other than that, you can't steal the ball from them. A lot of people will kind of run with the ball in front of them to kind of make room because you can't swap it out of their hand. When you're doing a 360, you cannot take the ball from like while they do the 360, you can't touch the ball at all. And the defense has to give them space to do a 360 or an alley-oop. So meaning that if I follow through on you, that's a foul and it's a 6-meter shot if they didn't make the shot.
Wow. That kind of reminds me of like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like ultimate frisbee in a sense. Like you really, you got to give the offense the time to like build up play and whatnot. And the only difference I'd say is it seems a lot more ref oriented. Like there's a lot of judgment calls to be made within the game. From that, do you think because the game is so new, reffing is a bit of an issue right now, or is it just something that everyone's trying to figure out?
No, they're pretty strict on what the rules are, but you are correct. There are some refs, I look at it as NFL. There's some refs that are stricter than other refs, but here's the guidelines. They follow it pretty much to a T. It's how much they let them play. Guys, I see them let them play a little bit more than girls. Another thing that I see a lot on with the guy side is they, wherever the foul is marked, typically you have to start in that spot. Guys, I just see them pick up the ball and throw it down for fast breaks, for anything along those lines. When women, they're pretty much, they kind of let them set up, then they blow the whistle and have them start.
Now, you were telling me earlier you started the season off, I believe, as offense and then or defense, and then made your way to offense. So
Yes.
when the ball gets transitioned, are they just, it's like hockey, like subs are just flying in?
Exactly. Yeah. And if you have a substitution error, you have to play with a man down. So they'll call a foul. You'll have to take that person off and you're down. Instead of playing 4 versus 3, technically you're playing 3-on-3.
So if there's a fast break, like say like me, you and Zach are running down, I'd have a horrible pass to Zach and there's no time to switch subs. Just offense is automatically have to go into defensive mode.
Yeah, it just depends on, let's say if we're at our line, our 6-meter line, yeah, we'll just stay on and we'll play defense for that point.
There's no point in substituting then, right? Like it's already too fast.
Exactly. So unlike basketball where you get X amount of X amount of substitution, you get unlimited as long as you just do it properly. So as long as your whole body is off the court, that's when someone is allowed to get on. And then also with like substitution is you'll see it a lot for the fast breaks. And let's say the defense or the offense scores, goalie pulls it out of that net. 2 people are typically off. Typically the offense will have, or the defense will jump off that first person, where the next person that's ready to jump on is the offense. And they're already at that other corner, ready to do a 360 spin. And typically either the goalie's not on or none of the defense is on. So you'll see that a lot too, for the fast break.
You seem very knowledgeable about the rules. I know based off what we gathered, you started playing in February of this year. Is that correct?
Yeah. So funny story. I met somebody at a volleyball tournament because I played beach and it was in January. And my husband has been telling me for years, the way to the Olympics is handball. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like, not like we're ever going to play handball. And he's like, no, this is the way. I was like, okay. So she was talking about beach handball. And I was like, excuse me, I need to know more about this because I know nothing about beach handball. And my husband keeps saying the way to the Olympics is handball. And she's like, yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely. She's like, I'm on the national team. You know, if you've already played beach, I feel like you would fit in really well. So we exchanged numbers. We talked for a little bit. She told me what I needed to work on to try out for the team. And then there was a tryout in February. I ordered the indoor ball, not knowing that was a difference between an indoor and beach ball. So when I went to try out, I didn't even have the correct ball. And I tried out in February and somehow made the team. And yeah, now we have our own club. I know the correct ball. I know all the rules.
So what's the difference between the indoor ball and the outdoor ball? I think we already went over it a little bit.
Yeah,
or maybe
so
just
the indoor ball is best way to think about it is like a soccer mixed with a basketball. Small, still fits in your hand. It dribbles, but they put a whole bunch of like this stickiness around it, so it's like attached to your hand.
When really chuck that thing.
Yeah, and it has some weight to it. Unlike the beach ball that is mostly rubber, it's all rubber. And sometimes it has grips around it, depending on which tournament you're going to. But like I said, it's like the perfect dodgeball.
Yeah, I saw a picture of one and they had like a bunch of like little triangles, like little like things on them for like grip.
Yep, because with the sand and just sweatiness and all of that stuff,
yeah.
It's and you can, I think it's up to one team one time per team, you can ask to change out the ball, or if it gets super sweaty, then you can try to like wipe it off. So they do have balls at the end of each goal for the goalie. So like, let's say there's one that flies off, then they can just run behind their goal, grab that, and that will be the new ball that's in play. It is 2 periods, 10 minutes each, and each period is separate from each other. So let's say it's US playing China, US wins the first one, China wins the second one, it would go into a shootout.
Which is 10, right?
Yeah, 10 minutes. So, and like I said, if you score without doing a 360 spin alley-oop specialty, it's only 1 point. Everything else is worth 2 points. And most of the time in these national teams, everyone's shooting for 2 points. And it's pretty high scoring game. You can get anywhere from mid 20s for the women's to about mid 30s for the men. So
per set though, so that's really like 60 something.
Yeah. So let's say the US wins the first one, China wins the second one, you go to a shootout. You have 5 players that the coach picks, and they go, and same thing, you only have 3 steps. You can only hold the ball for 3 seconds, but it's 1-on-1 with the goalie. So you pass it to your goalie, you're on the 6 meter line, your 6 meter line, you'll run in, and then you'll catch the ball from your goalie, and that will be, you have your 3 steps. You don't have to take all 3, but then from that point, you try to do your 360 spin and shoot it.
So there's no real defense then. It's just shooter versus goalie.
Yep, correct. Women's, you'll see like maybe a lot of the taller girls will come out and they'll just switch. You can switch between a specialty and goalie at any time in the game. So what that means is you just throw on your other jersey. So you see that a lot with for the shootouts, is like a taller girl or even a defensive girl. So they would come out and they come even past that 6 meter line and they try to block from there. There is a thing called golden goal. So let's say it's either period and you both score 10 points and that's it. The game is over, the 10 minutes is over. You have, and how you start every play is just like basketball, toss up between you and the other team. And so same thing.
After every point?
No, just at the very beginning.
Okay.
But for the golden goal, so golden goal means it's tied, 10 minutes are over. You'll have another toss up. And then from there, the next person that shoots, it can be 1 or 2 points. So everyone goes for 1 point. You win that period. So doesn't matter how long. Yeah, first one. So kind of like hockey where it's like first goal and that's it. And so typically if you win that toss up, that's a big deal because at that point you just have to score 1 point and that period's over.
Now talking about, there's a lot of running on the sand. Do they level out the sand in between the sets?
Yes and no. So they do it around the lines of it so you can see it, but they don't, and the goalie area. Those are the only couple areas. If you make like a huge
stick and you put like a big hole in the middle, that's going to be there the whole game.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and going back to like the dribbling, I've seen in Worlds this year, I saw a guy like truly dribble a ball. He threw it as hard as possible and it gave him that momentum to go. But I've also had that backfire where I shot like the perfect bottom right shot. I was like, yes, this is great. And it hit a pot of sand and went complete opposite. Just like hockey, the whole ball does have to cross over the plane for it to score.
Now, is there any sort of like rule in place? Because I know in hockey, what you'll see is when goalies come out, like during warmups, they'll scrape up the ice around the goal to kind of like slow the puck down. Are goalies allowed to mess with the sand in their 6 meter area to try to like give them an advantage in that sense?
Yeah, so they're not allowed to, but doesn't mean that they don't. And you don't ever see anyone doing it on purpose, but you do see those big mounds, especially by the post area where they're like pushing off, they're doing things like that. So no, people don't do that. It just happens to get created that way.
I feel like it's inevitable. Just posting and sticking in the sand, it's gonna move.
Yeah. Yeah, but the good thing about playing in the sand is your body, I feel like, lasts a little bit longer.
Yes.
I played college volleyball indoors and then moved to beach, and I'm just like, wow, my body can last so much longer. So I feel like it's the same way for beach handball. And it's obviously great because people aren't doing 360 spins indoor, but beach, it's a little bit of a cushion, and the sand is quite deep at these tournaments.
And you were talking that your husband said the fastest way to the Olympics was handball. Is that like your dream? Like you wanted to be an Olympian? Is that something you've been going for?
Yeah, I haven't had the best luck in sports. College, I had a coach that wasn't the best. And so, but I was sixth in the nation for blocks at the time.
Okay.
So I was also having really bad back problem. So I got an email right after going in for a steroid injection in my back. And I was asked to see if I wanted to come and try out for the indoor team and for the Olympics. And at the time, they were having a big scandal with drugs and all of that. So they were really strict about saying, like, you can't do this, you can't have any steroids and all of that. So kind of shot myself in the foot with that. But then I went ahead, and my husband's big dream was the Olympics. And so I cut it off once you leave college and don't do anything sports wise. So I was like, oh, whatever, I'll just have fun and just do sports as a pastime. And then he's been telling me about the handball, and handball it wasn't big here. It's big in, like I said, it's big in Europe. It's big everywhere else. So in 2028, the Olympics will be here in the United States, and we get an automatic bid. So that's when he was just like, you should really, like, we need to look into it before then, because if we get an automatic bid, we can go to the Olympics. So I was like, okay. And then, so yes, it was, but I kind of just shrugged it off after college.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of an old sport. As I was looking through, it says on the website that it was first introduced as an outdoor sport during the 1939 Summer Olympic programs, but then it got moved to an indoor sport in 1972.
Yeah, I also read that. I wanted to get a little bit more information. I don't know much about that because when everything we were looking at, they're like, yeah, the first tournament was like 1940s or things along those lines. So I thought that would have been a really cool history just to tell our club sport and like, oh,
Yeah.
they say. But I think this new round, with all the new rules and all of that, I think that was in the 1990s is when, like,
1997 in Denver,
okay,
I believe.
perfect. Yeah. So, and that's when, like, the 360 spins and not as aggressive.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. It was not. It got officially recognized by the International Handball Federation in 1994.
Okay, 94. Yes.
And the first World Championships of it was in 2013.
Okay. Yeah. And we just had one in Greece. I just did a little international tour here, and where we went to Italy, we played in Netherlands and then went to Italy and then did Worlds in Greece. So it was just really cool playing, because the first two are clubs, where club is massive and a lot of the international people will play on clubs. I played, which is just incredible, hearing about some of these teams that's been playing for years and been trying to get, you basically need points to get into this. You need to win X amount. So it was really cool playing in these and getting the touch and the feel for these international sports.
So you brought up some of like the new rule changes. I kind of wanted to go into that. Are there any different rules based off like international play or club play? I know you talked about kind of the balls being different based off where you play, but are kind of the rules always the same, or what kind of like things change?
Yeah, so the only thing that has changed is the uniform. So we used to be able to wear sports bras and like a bikini. And there was the indoor team also wore the same thing. And there was this big thing last Olympics. People just like, they were like, we want the choice. So they came back and there's just like, okay, you can have the choice. Now you get no choice and you get spandex and a jersey. So for the international play, for the club, you can still wear the bikinis and that's fine. But for like worlds and all of that, you have to follow the guidelines of jerseys and sports and spandex. But everything else rule wise is the exact same.
Now, who would you say is like the top dog for women's beach handball, like country wise?
So Germany just won Worlds this year twice. And so Germany is fantastic. Denmark always brings a really great team. And to kind of also throw in, the average age is about 30 to 35 for handball. So you can still be older and still play. So talking about that, Denmark is just kind of rebuilt their team. And I think they got 4th place still this year, or 6th place. So the young kids, it is in the Junior Olympics. So the young kids are starting to come up, but Germany is great. Denmark's great. On the guys' side, Brazil and Croatia was the one that won it this year.
Now, when you talk about the age of it being 30 to 34, would you say it's mostly because it's like, I don't want to sound derogatory by saying this. I just want to say, is it mostly like people kind of like you that are just like love sports in general and don't care about which sport they compete in? They just want that competitive nature back. And it's just like a lot of people that were like all over the place and they were like, oh, I could still compete in this because there's not that much durability in it, and there's not that much physical impact and stuff like that.
I think that's a big thing for the United States. I don't know if it is for Europe.
Okay.
I think they just love this play. There's a guy in the Qatar team and he has to be 55. And so he's just, and they grew up with this. So because they grew up with it, they love this.
Yeah, that's more the aspect I was saying is like, you don't have kids. I'm sorry to interrupt you. You don't have kids coming here in America at 6 years old. Like, I want to play handball. It's more of like, you hit 30, you're like, I really miss playing sports. I'm still competitive. I'm still working out all the time. I can do this versus you go to like Qatar, like you said, or Croatia. They're training them from a younger age. That is a route that they're specifically focused on just handball.
Yeah. I think so. Especially for the US. I think it's just like a lot of the girls I talk to, they've played other sports, and a lot of the girls on the national team, they played other sports. And so they're like, I just found this, or I played indoor and then moved to here. But yeah, when it comes from overseas, they grew up playing this and absolutely love it.
One of the things I was reading through the GoFundMe thing is your husband said you guys bought like a makeshift net and just were kind of practicing some of the things that you had worked on just in the tryout. How is kind of like your regiment built up from then? Or are you still doing the same things, or like what's changed?
Yeah. So when we first were trying out, like I said, it was a 360 spins, and I was just like, I don't know how to do a 360 spin. So we were just trying to get the feel for it. Now, and my husband has been amazing, and he made me the net when we first tried out with the indoor handball. Now we actually have a court. We made our own lines. We have enough for 2 nets. We are growing the club down here so we can go ahead and really share with the world like what the sport is. Every time we put it on the beach, everyone asks, what is this? How do we play? People truly love it. And I think it's such a fast-paced game that I think could grow. But what we're doing now is on Fridays, we practice from anywhere from about 3 hours. And we start with the easy stuff of, hey, let's just shoot like your specialty, 1-point shots. Let's throw some funky steps in here. Let's practice the steps. One before, I was just really practicing timing for defense. And also beforehand, I was just really getting the feel for this ball, like just for like different steps, because I never had to do anything that I had could only take so many steps. I played basketball in college, but as long as you dribble, you can take as many steps as you want. But now I'm starting to get the feel of 2-on-1s, noticing the court, and we watch a lot of film. So in our spare time, we come home and we're like, okay, where did you see the 2-on-1? We watch ourselves. We try, like right now, I'm trying to get 3 different spin options. I'm trying to get one that looks like a chair. I'm trying to get one that jumps straight up. I'm trying to go like towards the net. So now I'm just trying to play around and feel for the shots. Before I was just trying to make it in the net. Now I'm trying to get the feel for little right over the goalie, soft shots into the net. I'm trying to hit the corners. I'm trying to get like the perfect shots. So now it's just tuning everything up.
Are there like plays and like defensive strategies and formations, or is it kind of just like free play, like get open, make it happen?
Yeah, I apparently the good thing about the USA is we are changing the game because we are coming from different sports, and it's not just oh, this is what you're supposed to do. We're bringing basketball into it, so we're bringing like a
that's what I was thinking of, is like different plays, like 2-3 defenses and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So we do a 1-on-2. So we have a person up front and 2 people behind them, and it disrupts the passer, basically the point guard that runs everything, because they're not used to that person being out going crazy and doing all that stuff. Exactly. So yeah, we definitely bring a lot more, and I can start seeing an international that people are noticing that works and starting to use that as well, and just kind of getting out of the old European way of playing.
So you mentioned kind of like building your club down here and like utilizing other sports. Have you noticed any sports in particular that have transitioned the best to beach handball? Is there any place you're like looking to try to pick players out of, or just trying to like have open doors and accept anyone that wants to play?
Yeah, so we're definitely open to anybody that want to come out. I think every single time we do this, we're always just explaining the rules and saying like, and we start people off as specialists. The cool thing about us going overseas this summer was we got to learn from little kids, like, how do you learn a 360 spin? How do you feel comfortable in your body doing stuff like this? And so we learned, like, for a 360 spin, you do double bunny hops. And that's just kind of getting you that feel. But for the defense, it's still the same timing as you would for a 360 spin. So if you're turning around and trying to block that, you still have the same timing without messing that up. We learned a lot from that, but we're open for anything. I do see the sport that people play the most that transfers really well is basketball. Because you can say like, okay, I want you to push them to the line. I want you to get in that same defensive position, and I want you to move them that way without touching them. So, and just like basketball, you can get a defensive charge or a charge called, and then ball drops right there, you switch, and the defense goes to offense. So that's the only thing that really that the defense can do or like foul wise to get the ball. So that transfer over is really well too. I'm just like, yeah, I'm like, set your feet, get there before that person, and let them run right into you.
I meant to ask you that earlier, and I blanked out because I remember you saying, defense is very limited, but I was like, there's no way they're gonna let an offensive person just truck a defensive player.
Correct. Yeah. So you can't do that. The only time, and this is the only thing that with the ref, and it is such fast play, it's hard to tell if they were set or not. But you think you got a charge, and then they'll call it against you. So, but just that is basketball. The only thing that defense can do. Yeah, exactly.
Now, when you went, I'm sorry, there you go.
I was just going to ask, we talked about some of kind of like the violations within the sport, how like if you make an illegal substitution, you'll have to play with a man down. What are kind of like the punishment or fouls that they invoke, I guess, like other than just taking a player out?
Yeah, so just like other sports, you get a foul. You basically get 2 fouls. The second, they're called suspensions. Your second suspension, you are actually out of the game. They kick you out. You can automatically get a red card. Those are more of like if you go and sin, or obviously any like spitting. Never seen this. So any spitting on somebody, anything like that, automatic red card, and you have to leave the field. The suspension wise, your team probably on an average get 1 or 2 suspensions a game. So they're common, and they're kind of common. So the biggest ones that we get is, we're being too aggressive on our block. So you go and jump into it, and we didn't give them enough time to spin or enough area to spin, and we collide, and they're just like, that's dangerous, that you have to stand up, you get a suspension, you're out and your team is down for the next possession. So typically a 6-meter shot, it happens at that point if they didn't make that original shot. And going back to like red cards, if someone is trying to do like 360 spin, and when they're coming out of it, the defense is like, oh, there's a ball, and they'll try to do like that. Anything that can like break an arm, that's when they pretty get strict with the red card.
Now, I was watching some of the film of like the overseas games and like the world championships, and there's actually like a pretty big crowd at some of these matches. Where would you say you felt like there was the most like respect and attention and fan support out of all the places you've played in the world?
So Germany is amazing at following their team. They come and support no matter where they were. The Netherlands, they were there. Italy, they were there. Where else they were there? They just had a great following. I feel like each tournament I've played, there was some great things about them, but Italy, where they just were, and it was also EBT finals. You look to your right and you had amazing water, like right there. You had the wind off of it. It felt amazing. But then to your right, you had these mountains right behind you. So that was really cool. And I feel like a lot of people, and it was in Sicily. So I feel like a lot of people went and traveled for that. But that's also like the EBT final. So, but beach handball brings out tons of fans. And they'll come travel, they'll all wear the same thing, they'll start organizing. It's just like NFL here. Like they have their team, which is just a little hot in Greece. It was in June, so it's a little hot, but the fans didn't care. They stayed out and they watched their team play. So it just depends on, it was really more of like the team perspective. USA, it was really cool because it was Worlds and it was a school trip, and they ended up finding out that we were there, and we just happened to play. The girls were first, the boys were second. And so I think it was about 67 people ended up just coming off of a bus and took up the whole, our whole sideline and was cheering us on. So that was really cool seeing that. And like I said, they changed their plans around just to come and support the USA in Greece. And I thought that was absolutely incredible.
No, that is super
I love
awesome.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, one of the things I was just going to ask was, what do you think makes the German team as good as they are? Was it just the size, the athleticism, their understanding of the game? Like what kind of sets them apart as like the top dogs?
They do have a couple players that are 6'2" and taller, 6'5". They have been playing forever. I think they just know where each other's going to be. That was the biggest thing. And with US being still new to it, we're still trying to figure out where our team's going to be, how we move, and going into, like I said, I played beach volleyball, and it takes 6 months just for you to get used to one person on the court, you and your partner, how you move. I can only imagine 3 other people, then moving off and then trying to get defense on top of that. So I just think these people hang out with each other all the time. They practice with each other all the time. They're in clubs with each other all the time. So they can move and they can throw a ball with their eyes closed and they know where each other is going to be. So that's, I think, that's the biggest thing for these teams that are winning every single time, all of that. Because once, like even with Denmark, yes, they have a lot of younger people that just joined. You can tell from a couple years ago when they were competing to now, just that groove is a little bit off. Just trying to get that feel for each other as a teammates.
Yeah, team chemistry.
Yep.
Now, how are your matches are they broadcasted? Like what's like, how is it getting put out to the media? Like how is it broadcasted? How is it promoted?
So each tournament, it just depends, but a lot of it's on YouTube.
Okay. Like YouTube Live?
I
like
think
live stream?
Worlds was yeah, so there is live stream, but the thing is, for Worlds, it was around 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So a lot of people couldn't watch it. So they, and I think they're going to put it on YouTube. I know now with the Qatar tournament that was in 2018, I believe, that one is like, I'm still starting to find new film that's being put up like last year, or so I'm hoping that the same for Greece. I'm hoping they put it, but there is a live stream and we try to always say how to watch it and what times and in the time zones.
Yeah, I like how you said that one reason why you think it could be so successful is because it's a faster paced game, and I do completely agree with that. And I do think that's also something that's going to benefit more people to coming to it and it becoming more popular. How would you say, from your perspective, what we could do as a country to get this sport more popular and more mainstream?
Just knowing what it is, knowing that it exists. Like I said, I live here in Florida, and we play on the beach every day, play beach volleyball all the time, and I've never heard of beach handball. And I'm just flabbergasted because we live on a beach. Why? Like, there's a lot of sports like that. Uh, Beach tennis. There's just a lot of sports that we don't know about. And I feel like because they are fast paced, they can catch on really fast. So just being open minded also to all sports. We tell our volleyball players, are like, oh, you should come and try this. And the ones that have absolutely love it. The other ones are like, I can't do a 360 spin. And it's just like, that's just one aspect of the sport. You don't have to do that. So just biggest thing that I've seen from these world games is really be open-minded to all sports that are out there, and like ones that you had no idea you might absolutely love.
So one of the things I was reading is you keep, I guess, 14 or 15 on a roster. Now, is that all active roster, or is it like some you have to have for like reserve list? How does that kind of like work out?
Yeah, so typically 10 can be brought, and then you have anywhere from 2 to 4 alternates. So it's about 4 alternates with that. So the alternates are not taken. It's only the 10 that made the roster can attend. The other ones, if someone gets hurt, because halfway through you had to do a COVID test, and they're close by, that let's say they got a COVID test, tested positive, another player can make it in time, then they can still play. So, but 10 only gets traveled.
Okay. Another one of the things, I think the question just slipped from me, which is unfortunate.
Awesome.
Grace, if you had a question, I'll try to remember it.
No, yeah, I think the concept of it's cool. I mean, when I was in high school, I mean, we played handball all the time, like not beach handball, but like regular handball all the time. And it's super competitive and super fun. And I'm all for growing sports on the beach, like you said, especially when you live in Florida. I mean, there's even professional beach wrestling now. And I believe it's in either Fort Myers or Jacksonville. This is where they do like the team trials for beach wrestling. So, I mean, I feel like we're just trying to utilize that all the time. And I'm all about being outside, getting sunlight and promoting, fun ways to stay fit also, like this is something like you said, it's not like wrestling where it's like physical and hard and you have to be in good shape and stuff. Like you can just go out and have fun and enjoy this on a regular Saturday, going to the beach with your friends.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about these sports on the beach too, and why they are trying to move a couple more to the beach is just for the Olympic wise, is have more outdoor sports. But we live in these beachy towns. That would be so cool. Just like, oh, I'm going to the beach to go get tan. Oh, wow, there's a wrestling tournament out on the beach today. And like I said, anytime we do beach handball, we get, and these are just practices, we get people to come out and bring their chairs and be like, okay, I'm watching this instead of watching the water. So it's really cool.
Now, when you're
So I remembered
sorry.
I finally remembered it. I apologize. But one of the questions I wanted to ask was, you said the game is really fast paced. So how many games do you normally play in a day for a tournament, or how long do these tournaments usually last, and how often are you playing?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's about 4-day tournaments. In those 4 days, you can typically play 2 to 3 games a day, depending on just how many teams there are and the brackets and how they work. But it's typically a 4-day, and you're playing about 2 games. Maybe day 1, you could play 3 games.
So that's a lot.
Yeah. I think my very first tournament, my coach is like, why are you walking so funny? And I was just like, I'm just getting used to it. But by the second and third tournament, I'm like, okay, I'm feeling great. Your body does get used to it. But yeah, it's definitely a different feel.
Is there a season for this? Like, is there like a season, or is it like a year-round thing?
There is a season. So the national team will go from tryouts, I think, start in December, February, anywhere in between there. And then March starts the season. And then about June, July is when it ends. You don't go into August a whole lot, but a couple weeks maybe in August.
So it's
And
like
then
So-
clubs are all
sunnier
year
times,
round.
yeah, like the sunnier.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Right.
So,
So with
that.
playing, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
Oh
off.
no, go ahead.
The with it being on the beach and playing these like 3 to 4 games, would you say most of the cardio and conditioning is most in your lower half and legs? Because I know for me, whenever I would run on the beach, I feel like my legs got way more tired than they would playing anything indoor. So would you say the conditioning is primarily focused on just cardio and leg strength, or are there other things that you have to focus on and building up?
Yeah. So absolutely, your bottom half is going to be huge in this sport. I say it takes about 6 months to get your sand legs, so don't quit until that time frame at least. But but offense for me is my upper half, my abs, getting that whole body to be able to twerk like it's supposed to and not throw out your shoulders. Your abs are a huge thing for offense.
Now, when you're in season and you're playing for Team USA, how does your practice schedule work?
So we had one practice as a team before the Mexico tournament. I didn't go to the Mexico tournament, but so we had one as a team. And then when we were in Europe, we ended up having a week and a half to practice before Worlds. And then after that, and so we just like rented an Airbnb, ran practice.
So you brought up the Netherlands for a little bit. And we also saw that you were kind of asked to be brought on to kind of like a hybrid team. How do the hybrid teams kind of work between different countries? I know there was one between USA and Netherlands. Are there others that you know of, or kind of how does that hybrid situation work out?
Yeah, so club, it's a lot of teams are mixed together. I know Brazil they're not on the EBT list, so a lot of their players will find teams and they'll play under their team name. We did that for Italy. So once again, we didn't qualify. There was no way for us to play in the EBT final, but there was an Italy team that was indoor and they got a bid. So they had one player that really wanted to play, but no one else they could. So they asked the US team to play on that. And then after that, like my husband was practicing with the team and he got asked for the next summer to come out and play on their guys team. So it just depends on talking to people, networking with people, finding teams that need players. But the hybrid team in Netherlands is a little different. So that was a player that came out, played on the Netherlands team, and then was just like, this is so much fun. I want to start playing all year round to really get used to it. So then she made this whole hybrid where USA can play and don't have to worry about not having enough spots or anything along those lines. And you're still getting these national players that are playing on these club teams.
So it's not like difficult that since you guys don't speak the same language to like play together?
Yeah, no, it can definitely be difficult. I think one of the guys played on, I forget what team it was, and only half the team knew English. And then, so that was always hey, how do you do this? How do you what position? It's a lot of pointing, but the good thing is everyone typically knows English, or at least somewhat. That was a big thing that was an eye-opener to me. They're like, oh, I want to practice my English, let me try. And they spoke perfectly. So you can pretty much get away with English.
How much in the sport would you say is there like nonverbal communication? Because I know for a lot of sports, like in basketball, they'll have hand signs for certain formations. They'll adopt certain ways to I guess, raise awareness to their team without alarming the opposition. Have you guys kind of adopted anything along those lines or utilized anything sort of like that?
Yes, but you see that a lot with the European teams. They, once again, they just know what each other's going to do, where they're going to be, so they can give each other this eye, this look. The same for, we don't want to like call it a play. So we'll just be like pointing or telling someone to go here or doing stuff like that. But a lot of it is just when you run off and you have that 10 seconds on the sidelines talking, hey, what worked, what didn't work, what are we going to try, what's this? So it's a lot of talking.
One of the things, because you actually just brought up a memory that I've always been curious about. So in volleyball, when they go to serve, usually your middle hitter or kind of like your setter will put up a number behind their back. This is more so like volleyball, but what does that kind of like mean, or what does that kind of play into?
I'm pretty sure I think I can answer this question.
Yeah, go
I'm
for it.
pretty sure it's to attack a certain player, and each player in that formation has a number. So if she holds up like a 3, they're like, all right, serve it to that girl. Or like she holds up this, serve it to that girl. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. So it was, the coaches will throw up a number, and that typically means where to serve to. If the blocker's doing it, it can mean one of two things depending on what the setter and the blocker have discussed or the team has discussed. But most of the time it means blocking, what they're going to block. So beach, if you throw up a 2, that means they're blocking cross, whatever that person that they have is cross. 1 is line, 3 is fake cross, but I'm diving line, and 4 is fake line diving cross. So that's what those numbers mean. We don't really have that for beach handball. I can see it though starting to do plays just like basketball, where they can throw up like a 4 or throw up a hand signal, and they'll be like, oh, okay, I know what play we're going to run.
How does coaching work during the game in beach handball?
So you're allowed 1 timeout per team per period. So they can call a timeout. Typically, you'll see that towards the end of the game or the end of the 10 minutes. But it's a lot of running around and being like, okay, offense is typically down here, defense is down here. You'll have a secondary coach. Like for us in the US team, we have a secondary coach that is for our goalies and our defense. So she can kind of help with that when the coach that's standing up is typically the main coach, and she tells you about everything. Typically the specialist jumps off where the offense jumps off for the substitution, and they have to run all the way down to the goalie. So at that point, the coach and them are talking, trying to set plays and do that stuff. While the offense people are trying to talk and be like, hey, what should we do? What should we change? Or that worked really well.
And the coach during the game, like at the players, or they have to be quiet, like tennis?
Yep. Nope. And they can coach during the game.
Oh, perfect. Because I was going to say, I feel like it could be useful for like if you're attacking a defense and you talked about how it's only 4-on-3, or you want to attack a specific defender, like you would put up a number or like try to like give like a signal to attack that defender. Is that kind of what you've been doing, or is it kind of just like an understood thing? Like this person isn't really defending that well. We're just going to try to play the ball towards this side and kind of take advantage of that.
Yeah, so typically we watch play beforehand, and with that play, we come up with a defensive, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to let the right wing shoot, but we want to push her out beforehand. So letting her catch the ball and then kind of pushing it out instead of like in the middle of the time trying to make plays. Now during the game, once let's say the right wing has shot and they're starting to get on fire, and just like basketball, once they keep going, they can keep making the shots. Then you can tell like, hey, okay, now we need to go for the right wing. Let's leave this person open. So typically they come in with a plan. Halfway through, I feel like it always gets changed around because either it's working or it's not. So
yeah, like what Zach said with the adjustments, because that's definitely something you see in, I mean, that's just a generality in sports is adjustments. You know, like you could be like, all right, this person's getting fatigued, like they're not pressing as hard on defense, or you could tell this person's sloppy at passing, or like even you mentioned earlier, like this person's their worst shooter. If we it's better to focus on everyone else on defense and let them take their shot because they're only 50-50, you know? So it's feeling like that's something that your coach is probably looking for as well during the game.
Yeah, and you see this with all sports, but for handball, if you have a defensive person that's really like just messing with your mind, it's a mind game. So if that defensive person is like, I've blocked you now twice, you don't want to shoot. And then you're just like, do I want to shoot? Then your timing's off, then everything's off. I mean, it's all a mental game. How can we get in your head? How can we mess this up? But you being an athlete, you have to pull yourself out of that and be like, okay, I don't care. Block me again. I will get through. I will start adjusting. I will start doing like that. But if you don't adjust, then your scheme worked at the beginning, your game, and you just keep going with that.
I know Zach tapped on this topic a little bit earlier. I just want to bring it back to it. Does fatigue play an aspect at all? Like, do you see teams that are like genuinely aren't as good in the second half because they're more tired, or like certain teams are known to push the pace? Like, is there certain slower, faster tempos? Like, is cardio an actual like benefiting factor of the game?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're running from one sideline to the other, especially for defense, to make sure you stop that fast pace. Something that teams are really good at is, okay, you shot the ball, it went in. That goalie's like, okay, that is gone. Let me just get the ball out and shoot it down. So you'll see fast pace. The Brazil team does it. So Chile does it quite a bit, or the Spain team does it. And they're just really good at having that person jump off really fast. That makes that offensive person jump on. The goalie already has the ball at the net and you're shooting it down. While on defense wise, you're trying to get that first person to sprint on. You do that 3 times and you have no time to rest in between. It gets exhausting.
Yeah, especially.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Like, oh no, you're good. That could happen like 3 or 4 times in just a minute. And you're like, you just sprinted, you did suicides, and you're like, okay, I'm exhausted now.
Well, I just know, being a wrestler and MMA fighter, like that's like probably like 90% of the sport. You got guys like Peter Yan or like Charles Oliveira, or even like old Anderson Silva. They're very slow. They fight you very slow, but it's the same pace the whole five rounds. So they never die out. And then you got guys like Colby Covington, who, you know, when you fight them, he's going to be like sprinting at you for 25 minutes straight. So like it's a huge strategic thing in MMA, like a pace. And I was just wondering if it was similar in handball as well.
Yeah. And just think about, okay, now you are going into a shootout and you're exhausted and you don't have that much time in between a shootout and when that very first person's going. And let's say the shootout equals 10-10. So you both made all yours. Then that goes into a sudden shootout. So until someone misses, or even just a golden goal. So you fought your butt off for that 10 minutes. Now it's 10-10 and it goes down to that golden goal. And all you have to do is make one shot. I've seen tons of people miss just because they're exhausted.
Oh, yeah,
they are done. Yeah.
So one of the things we touched on earlier from rule changing wise was just like the uniforms have kind of changed. Are there any rules in place for like, if you're allowed to wear eyewear, like your hair has to be like a certain hairstyle, like some things along those lines?
Yeah, so they're really strict. So for Worlds, we had to turn everything we wanted to wear. For sunglasses, they have to be plastic. They have to be on like the croquis. If you had to turn all braces in, nothing could be metal in there. Bobby pins, you have to put tape around it if you want to use them. It's very similar to high school where like, if you have, like I have jewelry in my, for earrings, those have to be taped up. You can't see them. If they come around and they see that, it could be, you start with one less person, or they give you a warning, or that person might not be able to play. But they are very, very strict on what you can and cannot wear. And then also even like KT tape, if you wear that, it all has to be the same for every player on that team.
Damn, that's crazy. Because that's not it's not even like a benefiting factor. That's more for like your own protection and safety.
Yeah. So you typically have a trainer and they bring a massive roll of something, but that same tape, I have to use also to put on my earring.
So you can't even use like athletic tape on your earrings. It has to be the exact same.
It has to be the same color. Yep.
Absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
No gum. I'm a bad rule breaker of this. I have to have gum. But
no way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have to, it's just something that I feel like I can make saliva and then I can last longer. It's also something to take my mind off of just a couple of things to not overstress it, because I can chew. But I've always been that player that I needed gum, and everyone's just like, how can you do that? It's so dangerous. I don't know.
See, I hate that, but I have a bunch of teammates that they practice with gum all the time.
Yeah.
Like we'll grapple and they're just chewing gum. They're like, it keeps me calm. And I'm like, I can't be doing this action while trying to move my body. I need to be like still.
Yeah. No, I am that player that I need gum. So if they catch me with gum, I could get a suspension.
Or you just, what gum?
Yeah, exactly.
So wait, do we need to like cut that out so you don't get like a message from like the board?
No,
Like they're just gonna be like, so
my coach
She
already
needs
knows
gum.
it.
It's a joke, okay? It's a joke.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I've
actually-
never understood that. I really haven't.
Yeah. No,
One
I can't not have it.
So one of the things that kind of like came to me because I didn't really consider it. Is there any rules about like sunscreen? Because I know you're outdoors, you kind of like
Great
need
question,
sunscreen.
Zach. Great.
Are you like permitted to wear like a certain amount? Like if will you get in trouble for wearing too much? Like do you have to wear the same sunscreen on every part of your body type deal? Like
yeah, no, that's a great question.
FPS 20, nothing less.
Yeah. So no, sunscreen is not an issue. As long as it's rubbed in, that's pretty much all they care about. But it does play with the ball, because depending if you have sunscreen on your hands, and because that ball is that rubber material, it definitely starts getting that nastiness on it, that slipperiness. Yeah, and especially even in the rain too. But no, the sunscreen, you can wear whatever you want as long as you are protected.
What would permit a weather delay? Because you brought up playing through the rain a little bit. Obviously, I don't think you guys would play through like thunderstorms or anything along those lines, but will they put a game on hold because like wind speed's too high from the ocean? Maybe the rain's too heavy and the sand's gotten too like thick in consistency. Is there anything stopping pace of play from weather?
No, so just the lightning, then there's going to be a delay for that. But if the ground is soaking wet and like basically like a pool of water is on there, they might, but the sand is so thick out there that it pretty much runs through that pretty fast. But no, other than that, you're playing through everything. Wind, rain, lightning, that is the delay that they'll do, but everything else you're playing through. Too hot. We were
Yes,
playing
that is that's a very legitimate thing. If the sand's burning.
Yeah, so too hot. I haven't seen it. In Greece, it was really, really hot. In between games, we just try to get as much shade as possible. But there was no wind. That was the biggest thing. Is like Italy, it was right off the water, so you at least had the wind aspect of it. But no, Greece, we played in everything.
Now, what would you say your ideal like body type to be? Like, you want to be skinny? You don't want? I'm assuming you want to be like a little fit, but you don't want to be bulky.
Yeah. So because everyone has like, you're like, oh, that's definitely a volleyball player. You can tell by thick thighs, like all of that. You can tell like, oh, that's a wrestler, just how they're built. I try to figure that out for handball, and I can't figure it out. There was all sizes, all shapes, short, tall. I'm 6 foot, and I think I have an advantage over someone that's a little bit shorter than me that's probably defending. But if they can jump out of the gym and they can broad jump just as far as I can broad jump, I mean, they're there, their hands are there. So I haven't seen like, oh, this is the type that is a handball player.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I'm trying to think.
I will say for goalies, typically, if you have a short goalie, you want to shoot high. If you have a tall goalie, you want to shoot low. They have a hard time kind of getting that low aspect of it. And the goalie wise, if you kind of think of it as a 6 foot person, I can have my arm spans and still have some space for the ball. So, and then it's about six feet tall. So
the goal is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or I'm sorry, maybe 6'5". It's a little bit taller than me, but typically, yeah, any short person you want to go high, and any tall person you want to go low shooting.
Makes sense. Taylee, just one last question for me. What are your kind of goals for right now with what you're doing, and what are you kind of looking forward to in the future, and what are you trying to get to?
Yeah, so as of right now, it is still not in the Olympics for the 2024. It's still possible that it could be, but so if they don't, they might have a pregame on the Olympics where everyone else gets played, so you can still be there, get to see it, and play beforehand. Would love to make that. I would also hope that this is on the Olympics for the 2028. And like I said, this is a sport that you can play till you're a little bit older. And so I want to be able to make that team and make it to the Olympics and say that I played in the Olympics. That sounds really cool. Like, it was my dream as a little kid, kind of grew out of it, and then having that still as a grasp. But I never knew how incredible it could be playing on a national team. I wear the USA gear out. I'll get people stop by. I've had people ask for autographs. I've had people take photos with me, and like, I've done the radio thing. I've done some things like that. And just the whole aspect of people coming in is just like, this is so incredible for you playing for the US. I took for granted over the summer. I really did. It's something that has really humbled me this last month or so. And I've told people about it, and they're like, that's so incredible, you're playing for the United States. And I'm like, wow, it really is. So going further, it's just really taken everything that this brings. So if it's more playing, great, me getting to travel, me getting to do all that stuff, but really feeling how honored it is playing for the United States.
Right. Is there anything we can do as newfound fans of beach handball that we can help advocate for the Summer Olympics? Or is there any way that we as fans can kind of like promote handball being in the Olympics?
Yeah, like, is there a petition or anything that we could post on our social medias and stuff to like kind of promote and help out?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for asking. That is so kind of you. As of right now, I do not know if there's a petition out there. I can ask my coach. But just getting the word out, saying what beach handball is. I feel like the United States does have a great carry in for the Olympics. So that is something that we kind of take for granted being on the United States team, is we get some bids because they want it to grow in the United States. So just getting the word out. We are the St. Pete Parakeets for our club team. So if you wouldn't mind following that, and then come out and check it out. There's a tournament in Orlando. And down the road, we would love to host a tournament here in St. Pete and just show people what it is, and see it, anything that's on YouTube, like it, and show people what it is.
No, we'll definitely talk to you after and get that promoted. And if you want to flip the script, if they ever need commentary or broadcast people, we're right up the alley. We would love to start that trend. Yeah, we would love.
Absolutely, you guys are first in line.
Hell yeah. But
and
Taylee,
if you guys want to try a new sport, come on out to St. Pete.
Sure,
St. Pete Parakeet.
sure.
We'll teach you how to do 360 spins.
But listen, it was awesome getting you on. I really appreciate it. Like I said, we've been really wanting to advocate, especially female sports. It's just been hard to get some female athletes on, but thank you for being the first one. Hopefully you set the tone, and now we're able to get more, and hopefully we're able to get some more people wanting to play some beach handball.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It was a pleasure. You guys are awesome. And yeah, anything I can do to help, please let me know.
No problem.
There is one thing.
Yeah.
If you could direct me to the Parakeet team apparel store so I can get a shirt or a hat, I would love to support you guys. I think the Parakeets is probably the best name I've ever heard. So I will definitely be looking into that, of course.
Awesome. Yeah, we don't have apparel yet. We just started it like less than a month ago. But second we do, I will shoot it over to you, and it will be on our Instagram and Facebook.
Perfect. Thank you once again. We hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you guys. Have a great one.
No problem.